Okay, hi everybody. We're going to do a video lesson here we're going to review our first unit, do a little bit of review in number sense and operations. So we got 30 questions here, and we'll see how we do time-wise. We'll get through as many as time permits. So some of these questions are more challenging, some are a little bit more straightforward. So we'll start with a few that are pretty straightforward. I'll post solutions as well to these questions also. So order of operations, we talked about BEDMIS or BODMIS. So remember, when we are talking about order of operations, BODMIS or BEDMIS stands for brackets and then exponents and then division and multiplication, and then addition and subtraction. So that's the order of operations that we should follow. So solving the following expression, you'll notice we have addition on the left, and we have multiplication in the middle, the 3 times 5, and then we're subtracting 2. We have to do the 3 times 5 first, and so 3 times 5 gives us 15. So we have 8 plus 15, and then minus 2, and the addition and subtraction doesn't matter what order we do them in. So 8 plus 15, that gives us 23, so 23 minus 2, and that gives us 21. So I'll put some equal signs in there, like so. And so we can see that corresponds to answer A, so we'll fill that in over here, like so. I'm just going to save this as we go here. So we'll call this notes. We'll save that. All right. Our next question, we're dealing with some fractions. So adding fractions, remember that when we add fractions, we have to find a common denominator. So our common denominator here, we can find, we can just multiply the denominators. We have 4 times 3, and we have, we multiply the 4 by 3 to the common denominator, so we have to multiply the 1 above the 4, the numerator, by 3, and then we're adding, and then we have 1 times 4. So this is how we determine what those new fractions will be. So we get 3 plus 4, and that whole thing is over top of 12, so that gives us 7 over 12. And so that's corresponds to question number, answer B. I'll just put it down here, I guess, is the neatest way to do it. So that works well, I think. Okay, question 3. So subtracting decimals. We did a little bit of this previously in our review. And so if we're subtracting decimals, so remember we have to line up the decimal places. So we've got 8.92, and then we stack the values. We'll stack the numbers 5.45 like this, and we can't subtract 5 from 2, so we borrow 1 from the 9, so that becomes an 8. So we get a 12 now, and so we have 12 minus 5 gives us 7, and then we have 8 minus 4, which gives us 4, and then we have our decimal place, and then 8 minus 5 is 3. So if we look down at our answers, one of our options is 3.47, so that looks good, so we'll put that in. B is the best option there. And we've got question 4. So converting fractions to decimals. And so here we've got 3 divided by 8. If you have the calculator available to you, then you can go ahead and use that, or you can look at 3 divided by, so if you think about 4 divided by 8, so 4 divided by 8 gives us 1/2, and that's pretty close to 3/8. It's a little bit bigger, and that's equivalent to 0.5. So we know that we can't choose D and we can't choose C, and 0.333 would be, this one would be equivalent to 333 over 1,000. And and so that doesn't look like the value that we have listed here. And so the best option for us is option A. And if we check with our calculator, which I can do here, I think I've got a calculator handy under my utilities here on my computer. Yeah, so calculator. So 3 divided by 8, and sure enough we get 0.375. So that makes sense. All right, save that one. And question 5, finding percentages. So percentage calculations. So 15 is what percent of 60? And so we can use ratios here. So a percent is just a value out of 100. So x out of 100 is equal to 15 over 60. And so if we're trying to solve for x, we're going to multiply both sides by 100. So we'll do that. And then we have 100 divided by 100 gives us 1. And so we've got x is equal to 1,500 over 60, but we can divide these both by 10. So if I divide 100 by 10, I get 10, and if I divide 60 by 10, I get 6. So it's 150 times 10, sorry, 15 times 10, which gives me 150, and then it's 150 divided by 6, which gives me 25%. All right, so that's A is the best option there. All right, very good. Okay. Question 6, multiplying fractions. So if we multiply fractions, we don't have to find a common denominator. We can, all we're doing is multiplying the two numerators and then multiplying the two denominators. So we get 2 times 1, which gives us 2. And then we get 3 times 5, which is 15. And we can't reduce that, so our answer for that one is just A. So that one's pretty straightforward. Dividing fractions. So when we divide by a fraction, we multiply by its reciprocal. And so the reciprocal means we just flip the fraction, is a common way to describe it. So 2 over 3 divided by 3 over 4 is the same as 2 over 3 times 4 over 3. And so we get 8 over 9 for that one. And it looks like that is also option A. Lots of option A's here, the way things are working out so far. Okay, some work with exponents here. So to evaluate an exponent expression, when we raise a numerical value to an exponent, we're really, so if you have something like 2 to the n, or if you want to make it a bit more generic, a bit more general, some value a raised to the power n, we're just multiplying it by itself n times, oops, a, so it's a times a times a times a times a, and the number of times that we're multiplying it by itself is n times. So in this case, we've got 2 raised to the power 5, so it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So we're multiplying 2 by itself 5 times, which gives us 32. And so if we look at our answers, let's hope that there's a 32 there, and there is. So it's C. That's good. It's not A this time. It's good to mix it up a little bit. All right, question 9, square roots. So some numbers are what we call perfect roots, so we can take the square root of them to get a whole number. And 64 is one of those values. And so you should know the perfect roots up to, say, well, maybe up to 12, I guess, is reasonable. 12 times 12 is 144. So 8 times 8 is 64, which means the square root of 64 is just 8. It's actually plus or minus 8, because if we take the square root of a number, we should always get plus or minus, so there are actually two answers, because if I square negative 8, it also gives me 64. But in this question, they're assuming we're only dealing with positives, so C is the best answer for this one. But it would be better if they included plus or minus 8. Okay, absolute value. So absolute value is the distance between a number and 0 on the number line. So if I have a number line here, I'll just draw one over here. Just give me a straight line here. Grab a straight line. Let's see, straight line. Okay. So if I draw a number line like this, and then I've got I should have done that. Maybe I'll just stop the line for now. Put some tick marks on here. So this is like, kind of like having a ruler, and I've got some measurements I'm going to make here on the number line. So if I've got 0 here, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and then I've got negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and negative 5. Well, the distance from here to here, the distance from here to 0, is the same as the distance from here to 0. So the distance from negative 5 to 0 is 5, and the distance from positive 5 to 0 is 5. And so that shows you our definition there. It's the distance from the number to 0 on the number line. So the absolute value of negative 5 is just 5, because that's the distance from negative 5 to 0 on the number line. And so we've got another A. We really like the letter A today. This review is brought to you by the letter A. Okay. These ones may be a little bit tougher. We'll see. So question 2.1, complex order of operations. So it's going back to BEDMAS, but here we have some brackets. We've got a little bit more going on than in the first one we tried. So we have division normally comes before addition, but here we've got addition inside the brackets, so we have to do this part first. So we have 24 divided by, and then 4 plus 2 is 6, and then we have our minus 3 plus 1. Now we have to do our division. So 24 divided by 6 gives us 4, so we have 4 minus 3 plus 1. And so we have 4 minus 3 gives us 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So now we have a B. That's the first B we've had, I think, so far today. All right, converting percentages. So if we have a discount, this is common. So this is a percentage discount calculation. So a shirt costs $50 and is on sale for 25% off. What is the sale price? So 25%, we need to find out what 25% of 50 is. So 25% means, as a decimal number, we write that as 0.25, because it's just 25 divided by 100. So we have 0.25 times $50. And we can also convert that to a fraction, because 0.25 is 1 over 4. And so it's really 1/4 times 50. So 50 divided by 4 is all we need to do here to find out what that is. So 50 divided by 2 gives us 25, and then divide that by 2, you get $12.50. So it's $12.50. So this tells us, so therefore the sale price, or the new price, is the old price, which is $50, minus 12.5, which gives us $47.5. Sorry, my mistake, $37.5. Shame on me. $37.5, which is $37.50, and so it's choice C. There we go. All right, question 13, ratio and proportion. So in this one, a recipe calls for flour to sugar in a ratio of 3:2. If you have 8 cups of sugar, how many cups of flour do you need? So here we know that, so we can reverse our ratio if we want, if it makes it a bit easier. So sugar to flour has to be 2:3. So we can write that as 2 over 3. Except we want the number of cups of flour, so my mistake. It's probably better to leave it as it is. So flour to sugar. So flour to sugar is 3 over 2. And we have 8 cups of sugar, so 8 goes in the denominator, but we want to know what x is, the number of cups of flour for 8 cups of sugar. So then we want to solve for x, so we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 8, like so. And so now we can cancel these. 8 divided by 8 is 1, so those go away. And we have x is equal to 8 times 3 over 2, which is 24 over 2, which is 12. So we have, if we scroll down, we have 12 cups is option C, so we can write that in there. There we go. Woo! Sorry. Had a bit of a glitch there. Okay. Let's see, question 14, multi-step percentage. So compound percentage changes. So a house is valued at $200,000. First, its value increases by 20%, then it decreases by 10%. What is the final value? So we need to do this in a couple of steps. So we have, initially, we have $200,000, like so, and its value is going to increase by 20%. So that means we have to multiply by 120 over 100. That's what that means, because percent means over 100. So we have 200,000. So actually the easy way to do this is to then do some division. So 200,000 divided by 100 makes that a bit smaller. So now we have 2,000. So 2,000 times 120, which we can do in our calculator, or we can multiply 2 by 12 to get 24 and then count the zeros. So 24 and then 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 240,000. And that sounds about right. And so, but then it's going to decrease by 10%. Well, 10% of 240,000 means we have to, so now 10%, so 10 over 100, we do it the same way. So 10 over 100 times 240,000. And again, we can divide So 240,000 divided by 100, like so. And now we have 2,400 times 10. So we have 24,000 dollars. So that means we've lost $24,000. So it's 240,000 is what the first new price was. So $240,000, and now we have to subtract $24,000. And so 240,000 minus 24. So if we subtract 20,000, then we'd have 220,000 and another 4, so we have $216,000. And that's what we get for C. Now we've got a whole bunch of answers that are C. Not much of a mix here. Okay, fractions to percent, so converting fractions to percentages. So convert the fraction to a percentage. Okay, I'm just going to take a short break here, but I'll be back in a moment. Okay, we're back. So here we're going to divide 3 by 5. And so if we want to convert that to a percent, we can think about, we could use our calculator, but if we don't have our calculator, we can figure out what are we going to multiply the 5 by to get 100, because percent just means a fraction out of 100. And so we know that 3 over 5, if I multiply by 20, 5 times 20 gives me 100. So then I have to multiply the numerator by 100, or by 20 rather. And so that gives me 100 in the denominator, which is what I wanted, and 3 times 20 gives me 60, which is just 60%. That's what it means. 60 over 100 means 60%. So this has got to be answer D, and that's the first B we've got. So that's jolly good to get a D finally. All right, question 16, negative numbers. So here we're dealing with some integers. Some are positive, some are negative. So if we have negative 3 and we take away another 5, then again, if you think about the number line, then we've got our number line here, and if I draw some tick marks here, there's my 0, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's no good. My line's not long enough. Alright, 7 and then 8. Okay, so I started out here at negative, so this is negative 2, negative 4, I won't label them all, negative 6, negative 8. Okay, so I started out at negative 3, and I took away another 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I end up here. So if I have negative 3 and I'm taking away another 5, I end up at negative 8. So it's just answer A for that one. Okay. Multiplying negative numbers. Okay. So if I multiply a positive by a negative, I always get a negative. And so 3 times negative 4 gives me negative 12. That one's pretty straightforward. So that's another A right there. Question 18, multiple fractions addition. Adding multiple fractions with different denominators, so that we've seen something like this before. So the common denominator here, we could just multiply 2 and 6, but 2 goes into 6. So what I could do is just multiply 1/2 by 3 over 3, because that'll change the denominator for 1/2 to something over 6. So 3 times 1 is 3, so we have 3 over 6, and then we still have to add our 1 over 6, which gives us 4 over 6, which we need to reduce to 2 over 3, because we can divide both the 4 and the 6 by 2. So there we get 2 over 3, and see if that's one of our answers, and it looks like it is, so it's answer C. Alright, there we go. Very good. Tax calculation, everybody's favorite. Everyone loves paying taxes. Just kidding, nobody likes paying taxes. A book costs $58.50 and has a sales tax of 12%. What's the total cost with tax? So we have to figure out what the tax is going to be. So 58.50 multiplied by 12 over 100, or 0.12. This is a calculator problem. And so using our calculator, I'm just going to go over here and bring up my calculator again. And let's see, utilities, calculator. So I've got 58.50, and then times 0.12, and I get 7.02. So I get 7.02. And so that means we have to add the values. So therefore total, so the total cost is 58.50 plus 7.02, and so that's 65.52. 65.52. So $65.52, and that looks like answer A. So that looks pretty good there. Okay, question 20, comparing forms. So converting between fractions, decimals, and percentages. So express 3 over 4 as a decimal and as a percentage. So 3 over 4, so we have, if we want to express this as a percentage, that might be the easiest one. 4 times what gives us 100? Well, 4 times 25 gives us 100. So if we multiply 4 by 25, we have to multiply the 3 by 25. And so we end up with 75 over 100, which gives us, when I divide that, I get 0.75, which is 75%. And so as a decimal, it shows that in A, so that's answer A. And that's a good conversion there. And here's question 21. Complex fractions. So some more addition here. So in this case, we want to find, to find the lowest common denominator, we want to find the lowest number that both 6 and 8 go into, which would be 24. So we've got, if I multiply the 8 by 3 to get 24, then I have to multiply the 5 by 3. So we have 5 times 3, and so our common denominator is 24, and then I'm adding, if I multiply the 6 by 4 to get 24, I have to multiply the 1 by 4, so 1 times 4, like so. So I get 15 plus 4, and that whole thing has to be over 24, so 19 over 24 is our result. And so that is B. Finally we get another B. That's exciting. Okay, question 22, exponents. And we've got multiple terms here, so we have to do our exponents first according to BEDMAS, or order of operations. So 5 squared is 5 times 5, that means 5 times 5, and then we're adding 4 times 4. So 5 times 5 is 25, so we have 25, and 4 times 4 is 16, and so 25 plus 10 gives us 35, and then another 6 gives us 41. So that looks like it's answer B. Alright, we're on a roll with B's now. That's great. Okay, here's a word problem involving square roots. So a square room has an area of 169 square feet. What is the length of one side? So a square room, actually I think I can make a proper square. Draw a rectangle. Yes, please. There we go. Look at that. That's a much better square, sort of. Alright. And so we have our length here, and we have our length here. And of course, because it's a square, they are all the same. All the sides are the same. So they're all length. And so the area is equal to length times length, which is the same as length squared. So therefore, if I have the area, well, if I want to find the area, the length is equal to the square root of the area. And we know in this case we'll only get a positive square root because we can't have a negative length. And so we have the square root of 169, which I believe is 13. So if we could look at our options here, and we do have an option 13. So that's going to be C. So answer C, 13 feet for the length of a side. Okay, compound percent for an investment. So an investment of $100 increases by 8% and then increases again by 7%. What's the final value? So we have $100. So let's switch my color up here. So $100, and we're going to have an increase of 8%, and 8% is just 8 over 100. And so if we divide 100 by 100, we get 1. So that means our increase has to be $8. So first increase takes the investment to $108. Then now the second step, we have $108, and we have to multiply that by a 7%, so 7 over 100. And so we have 100 divided by, or rather 100 times 7 over 100. So this one you can use your calculator for. So I'm just going to switch over to my calculator. So 100, so 7 over 100 is decimal 0.7. So 108, 108 times 0.07, and we get $7.56. So $7.56. So therefore, the new total will be $108 plus $7.56, which gives us $115.56, which is option D. So there we go. There's our investment, the worth of our investment. All right, question 25. Advance to more order of operations. This one's a little bit trickier. because we have to do what's inside the brackets first, and we're dealing with some fractions. And so we'll do this first, 1/2 plus 1/4. So inside the brackets, we have to rewrite these fractions with a common denominator, and our common denominator will be 4. So we have to multiply the 1 by 2, because we have to multiply the 2 by 2 to get 4, and then like so. So this is all over 4. So the 1 over the 2 becomes a 2. So it's 2 over 4 plus 1 over 4 times 8, and then minus 2. We'll do those after. So we get 2 plus 1 is 3, so that's 3 over 4. And then we're multiplying by 8. But if we're multiplying, remember 8 is a fraction, but it has a denominator of 1. So we can write it like that if we want. So 3 times 8 gives us 24, and 4 times 1 gives us 4, and then we subtract the 2. But 24 divided by 4 gives us 6, so we have 6 minus 2, and 6 minus 2 is just 4. So our answer to that one is just B. Okay. Question 26, complex percentage problem. If an $80 item is marked up by 50% and then discounted by 20%, what's the final price? So this is kind of similar to one of the other ones we did earlier. So we have $80 marked up by 50%. Well, what's 50% of, so 50 over 100 is 50% times 80. Well, we can make the math a little bit easier by dividing by 10. So we've got 80 divided by 10 is 8, and 100 divided by 10 is 10. And so really we're now left with 50 times 8 over, or 50 divided by 10, which gives us 5, and 5 times 8. So it's 5 times 8. Because now we've got 50 divided by 10 is 5, and 10 divided by 10 is 1. So we can do that. So just 5 times 8 gives us 40. So therefore, first price is going to be 80 plus the $40, which is $120. And then it's going to be discounted by 20%. So 20 over 100 is 20%. We have to take that and multiply by the $120, our new price. And so we can do something similar to what we did before. We can do 120 divided by 10 gives us 12, and then we can do 20 divided by 10 gives us 2. Use different colors here like I did before. So we have 20 divided by 10 is 2, and 10 divided by 10 is 1. So really we just have 2 times 12, which is $24. So $24. So we have so the total is just $120 minus $24, which gives us $96. So C is our answer for that one. So that's, I'll just write that over here. So that equals $96. All right, that's great. Question 27, fraction, decimal, percent equivalence. So which of the following is not equivalent to 0.2? All right. Well, we should think about how we can write 0.2. 0.2, so 0.2 can be written as 0.2 over 1. And that's the same as writing 2 over 10. And it's also the same as writing 20 over 100 if we multiply both the numerator and the denominator by 10 again. So we know that can't be 2 over 10 because it is equivalent to 2 over 10. This is the same as 20%, so it can't be selection B. And if we wanted to write it over 5, then we would multiply 0.2 over 1. We want to multiply this by 5 over 5, right? To rewrite it as a fraction over 5. And so 0.2 times 5 gives us 1. So that's 1 over 5. So it can't be A either. So the only one that it could be is D. So this answer is D. And if you think about D, well, what is 1/4? 1/4 or 1/4 is the same as 0.25 or 25%. So 25%. So D is the best choice there for sure. Alright, question 28, negative number operations. So a little bit more with the integers here. So 2 negatives, if I multiply 2 negatives, I always get a positive. So negative 3 times negative 2 gives me positive 6. And then I'm adding negative 5, but if I add a negative, it's the same as just subtracting the positive. So it's we get 6 minus 5, which just gives us 1. So this one's going to be C. Alright. Integers can be a bit tricky. Question 29. If 5 workers can complete a job in 12 days, how many days will it take 10 workers to complete the same job? So 5 workers can complete the job in 12 days. And so we've got 5 workers in 12 days. And so the amount of time taken there, so if you think about the time, so the time taken is going to be, we have 5 workers, 10 workers is twice as many workers as we have. This is the better way to think of it. So 10 workers is twice as many workers as 5 workers. So 10 workers work twice as fast as 5 workers. So if 5 workers complete the job in 12 days, so then we can then divide the amount of time that it takes by 2. So 5 workers takes, so 5 workers over 12 days is equal to 10 workers over X days. And we can take the reciprocal of both sides if we want. So we can say 12 days over, or we can now get rid of the symbols, I guess. So 12 over 5 is equal to X over 10, which means we can rearrange that and we get X is equal to 12 times 10 all over 5. And so X is equal to 120 divided by 5. And so, let's see here, 5, got 5 workers. No, I think I might take a different approach here. I think maybe there's a problem with my logic here. 5 workers complete the job in 12 days. How many days take the job? Yeah, my original logic was better, I think. So if you think about the speed at which a worker can work, then you've got, yeah, I'm gonna change my approach here, I think. My apologies. I'm gonna go with my original idea. It's a bit less complicated. So as I was saying originally, 10 workers, so 10 workers are twice as fast. 10 workers are twice as fast as 5 workers. As long as they all work at the same speed, which we assume that they do, as 5 workers. So they take half the time. So the new time is equal to the old time divided by 2. So 12 days divided by 2, which equals 6 days. And so B is the right answer there. Sorry about that one. That shouldn't have taken so long. Okay, question 30, real world finance. Okay, so you deposit $500 in a savings account that earns 4% annual interest. How much will you have after 1 year if it's simple interest? So we have $500, and we're multiplying by 4%, and 4% is just 4 over 100. And so we can divide 500 by 100, which gives us 5. Divide 100 by 100, which gives us 1. And so we have 5 times 4, which equals 20. So therefore, the total worth is now $500 plus $20, which gives us, so $520. Okay, which is B. All right. Great. Okay, so some good advice here. Steps that you should, kind of reminders for good steps when you're working on problems. If you have some scratch papers that you can use, do that. I think on the exam they let you have it sounds like they let you have a whiteboard or something, or some sort of digital scratch paper. All right, so that's great. I will save these and I'll post the solutions as well for you, and next time we're going to do another video lesson, and then I'll see you live after that the next week. All right, so I'll save this and I'll export it, and have a great week, everybody.